The paper smelled of mildew and deliberate silence. In 1981, a conservationist in Nanjing opened a sealed lacquer box and found 47 sheets of pressed bamboo administrative records from the Yuan dynasty, the Mongol regime that ruled all of China from 1271 to 1368. She read the first character. Then she read it again. Her hands went still. The dynasty that once stretched from Korea to the gates of Vienna had been erased so completely that even its name times Yuan times had vanished from ordinary speech. The conservationist closed the box. She did not know, could not have known that the silence surrounding this dynasty was not an accident of time. In 1271, a Mongol prince named Kublai Khan proclaimed a new dynasty. He called it times Yuan, times a word meaning origin or primary. For the next 97 years, this foreign empire governed the entirety of China for the first time in history. The capital, Dadu, glittered with marble mosques and silk trading houses. Marco Polo visited and called Kublai the greatest ruler on earth. At its height, the Yuan Empire controlled more territory than any Chinese dynasty before or since. By 1368, the Ming dynasty had driven out the Mongols. What happened next to the Yuan name was not decay. It was deletion. The erasure began within years of the fall. The new Ming rulers renamed the capital. Dadu became Beijing Northern Capital, and that name has never changed since. They banned the Mongol script from official use. In 1371, an imperial archivist named Zhou Ting compiled the official history of the Yuan dynasty. His manuscript was a single surviving copy, preserved behind palace walls. Every other Yuan-era document, tax records, diplomatic letters, maps of the empire's western reaches was burned. By 1400, a child born in China could grow to old age without ever hearing the word times, Yuan times spoken aloud. This is not how empires are normally forgotten. Rome collapsed, yet we have its records. Egypt endured foreign occupation, yet its language survived in church texts. The Byzantine Empire fell in 1453, yet European scholars preserved its chronicles. Empires do not simply vanish from memory unless someone removes them. The Yuan dynasty is the exception. What the Ming did to this empire was not historical negligence. It was historical surgery. They did not forget the Yuan. They were ordered to forget. Scholars have catalogued the evidence of systematic destruction. In 2012, a joint Chinese-Mongolian archaeological team excavated a Yuan administrative complex in Inner Mongolia. They found a wall that had been deliberately demolished, not weathered, not collapsed, but dismantled with iron tools. The bricks had been scattered and buried in a nearby riverbed. In 2019, researchers at Peking University compared surviving Yuan-era inscriptions in Central Asia with Chinese dynastic records from the Ming period. 17% of Yuan administrative terminology had no Chinese equivalent. It had been removed from the language itself. The physical evidence is scattered and half buried. In a desert archive in Xinjiang, a researcher named Ling Mei found a single Yuan-era letter pressed between the pages of a Buddhist sutra. It was a routine military dispatch: rations, guard rotations, a request for more horses. No one had read it in 600 years. The letter mentioned a city called times Zhongdu times a name that does not appear in any Ming-era document. Zhongdu has never been found. It may still lie beneath the Gobi Desert, waiting. Or it may have been renamed so many times that no one would recognize it today. Historians offer a straightforward explanation. The Yuan dynasty governed China brutally. Mongols ranked as first-class citizens. Ethnic Chinese were second. The population was taxed into famine. Mass conscription depleted villages. When the Ming took power, they wanted to draw a clean line. Erasing the Yuan was a way of saying, this never should have happened. China belongs to the Chinese. The 4th-century Mongol occupation of northern China, the decades of displacement, the Ming wanted it buried. This explanation is not wrong, but it is incomplete. Here is the gap in the standard narrative. The Ming kept records of every previous Chinese dynasty, the Tang, the Song, the Sui, the Han. They compiled histories of dynasties that had ruled for 30 years. But the Yuan, which lasted 97 years and governed the largest empire the world had ever seen, the Ming wrote a single volume and sealed it. They did not merely want to forget the Yuan. They wanted the Yuan to seem as though it had never been real. That is a different kind of forgetting. That is a command. A single Ming emperor may have ordered the erasure. Zhudi the Yongle emperor ruled from 1402 to 1424. His father had fought the Yuan as a rebel. Zhudi himself was born in 1360, during the final years of Mongol rule. He grew up in the shadow of an empire that had conquered his homeland. According to one uncorroborated source, Zhu issued a private decree. The Yuan was not a dynasty. It was an occupation. It would be treated as a wound, not a history. Whether this decree was real or apocryphal, the effect was real. The empire was made to disappear. Today, Mongolia is a sovereign nation. Its government has requested the return of Yuan-era artifacts from Chinese museums. China has declined. The argument is administrative old records. Unclear provenance, but the silence has a familiar texture. We are still, in some quiet way, negotiating what we are allowed to remember about the Yuan dynasty. Here is the question that no archive can answer. If an empire can be unmade from language itself, if a name can be scrubbed from speech, from stone, from the very structure of a dictionary, then what does history owe to the forgotten? And what do we owe to history? Next on Phantom Atlas. A kingdom that built a wall so long it has never been fully mapped, and the village that still lives inside it. End of script.